Hello, friends. It's time to really start diving deeper into the main concepts of programming. We're going to be talking about something called data types. Up until now, we've just been working with text. However, as you might have guessed, working with numbers is also pretty common in programming. Program needs to know what kind of data it's working with so that it knows how to properly manipulate this data. Every variable is going to have a data type assigned to it, depending on what's stored inside the variable. For example, the data type of our user variable here is a string. String is the data type for variables containing text. You can easily tell it's a string by looking at these quotation marks here. Anything inside of quotation marks is going to be a string. Even if there are numbers inside the quotation marks, it's still a string. To demonstrate it, let's get rid of all of this. We'll make a variable and make a string inside of it with a couple numbers and add them together. And since these are numbers, you might expect that it'll add them together, but since they're strings, instead, let's run this. It just prints 5, 6 instead of adding 5 and 6 together. Adding two strings together just mixes them together or concatenates them. If we wanted to work with numbers, we can use the integer data type. All we have to do is get rid of the quotation marks here. And now Python is going to automatically guess that these are integers. Now, if we run this, Python will actually perform a mathematical operation and add these two numbers and output the result. We also have some other mathematical operations we can use, so let's just go through all of them. Let's actually get rid of this up here. So I just showed you addition. We can do subtraction. We can do multiplication. And we can do division. Let's run this. So as you can see, Python went through and did all of those operations. If we wanted to work with something other than whole numbers, we could use the float data type. I know that may sound weird, but don't worry about it too much. The name float is a reference to the way that the computer stores and interprets the data in memory. All you really have to know is that a float is a number that has a fractional value. That is to say that it has digits to the right of the decimal point. To work with floats, we just add a decimal point to our numbers. So we can do 5.3 minus 6.2, 2.5 times just 3. So this would be a float times an integer. And Python is going to work out that the result is going to be a float. And down here, you can already see that 4 divided by 2 automatically gets converted to a float. Since division could yield a non-integer result, just goes ahead and automatically does that for you. So if we go through, let's do 4.2, why not? So if we go through and run this, you can see these numbers are going to have decimal point digits. There are lots of other data types, but those are the main ones I wanted to talk about for now. We're going to use these data types to make our program a little more useful. Let's use everything we've learned to make ourselves a really basic calculator. So let's get rid of all of this and write a little greeting for our user. Make sure they feel nice and welcome. Welcome to our calculator. All right. And then we can create some input variables and ask our user what numbers they would like to add. Let's do x equals input. Please enter a number to add. Y equals input. Can't type today. Okay. And then add them together in another variable and print the result. Well, actually, let's print the result and tell them it's the result. The All right. So that looks like it should be about good, but actually, when we take input from our user, it automatically guesses that it's a string instead of converting it into an integer. So right now, all it's going to happen is that our numbers are going to get concatenated instead of a mathematical operation. So if we do 2 plus 3 instead of 5, it's 23. So Python thinks that these inputs are strings. So we've got to tell it somehow that they're actually integers. And to do that, what we're going to do is specify that whatever is input is going to be an integer. So we can do over here int, which is just short for integer, and surround our variable in parentheses. So int parentheses, and inside of those parentheses is going to be the variable. What that's going to do is convert it from a string into an integer. And now this is going to be a mathematical operation instead of just concatenating these two strings. So if we run it this time and do 5 works, plus 3. Oh, right, I forgot. So in Python, you can't concatenate a string and an integer. So since this is an integer, since we converted these two to integers, z is going to be an integer, and we're going to have to convert it back into a string so that we can print it out. So to do that, we're going to do str and surround our variable in parentheses. Str is just short for string. So now if we save and run this, it should work as expected this time. 5 plus 3 is 8. All right, with that, we've made a program that actually has a use. Granted, maybe not too useful if all it can do is add. So in the next video, we'll start learning how we can have the user choose the mathematical operation they would like to perform. If you're enjoying these videos, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. All right, I'll see you in the next one.